Welcome to a city born from the mud, a shimmering mirage that defied the laws of nature. You are standing at the edge of the impossible, where every brick tells a story of survival. We dive into this liquid labyrinth to discover why Venice remains the world's most haunting masterpiece. This is not just a destination. It is a floating dream that refuses to wake up. From the clouds down to the waterline, skimming the surface of the Grand Canal just inches above the wake, we see the turbulent churn of green water reflecting the weathered facades of leaning palazzos. A passing gondola creates a gentle ripple that shatters the reflection of an ancient arched bridge. To understand Venice, one must first understand the salt in its veins and the mud beneath its feet. This is a city that rose not from the earth, but from the desperate need for sanctuary among the marshy reeds. It is a fortress of water, a sanctuary built on millions of submerged wooden pilings. Here, the tide is the heartbeat of the streets, and the wind carries the scent of ancient trade. Follows a traditional wooden boat as it navigates a narrow, shadowed canal where the walls are moss-covered and damp. Sunlight filters down in narrow shafts, illuminating the peeling plaster of buildings that have stood for centuries. A local resident leans over a wrought iron balcony, shaking out a rug as a cat watches from a stone ledge. The story begins in the 5th century, a time of chaos and fleeing refugees escaping barbarian shadows. They chose these inhospitable islands, carving a life out of the silt and the brine. What started as a cluster of mud huts would eventually dictate the fate of the Mediterranean. It was a gamble against the sea, and the stakes were nothing less than total glory. Wooden stakes being driven into the seabed by phantom-like figures. Layers of compressed silt and clay are shown in a cross-section animation, illustrating the hidden forest of petrified wood holding the city up. The water around the pilings is dark and mysterious, teeming with the ghosts of the past. Beneath the marble floors and golden altars lies a hidden foundation of millions of alder trees. These trunks, submerged for centuries, have turned to stone in the oxygen-free mud, supporting the weight of empires. It is a feat of engineering that baffles the modern mind, a silent forest supporting a city of stone. Without this hidden sacrifice, the grandeur above would simply vanish into the lagoon. A vibrant, bustling marketplace seen at the foot of the Rialto Bridge. Vendors stack crates of bright red radicchio and silver-scaled fish while sunlight bounces off the white Istrian stone of the bridge. Crowds of people in colorful summer attire move like schools of fish through the narrow passages. By the Middle Ages, this marshland settlement had transformed into a maritime titan of unparalleled scale. Wealth didn't just trickle into Venice, it flooded the canals like a spring tide. The city became the bridge between the exotic East and the hungry West. In these narrow alleys, the modern world of global trade was effectively born. A large merchant vessel, reconstructed in CGI, sailing majestically into the San Marco basin under a crimson sunset. The ship's sails are heavy with the wind, and its deck is piled high with chests of spices and bolts of silk. The water reflects the fiery sky, making the entire lagoon look like liquid gold. This was the era of the merchant princes, men who traded in pepper, silk, and secrets. Every voyage was a dance with death, but the rewards were the riches of kings. Venice became a hub where ideas, religions, and currencies mingled in a chaotic, beautiful symphony. The city was no longer a refuge. It was the center of the known universe. Inside a dimly lit, opulent room filled with scrolls and ancient maps, focusing on a hand drawing a line toward the Orient. Dust motes dance in a single beam of light, hitting a compass resting on a velvet cloth. A weathered journal with the name Marco Polo, embossed on the leather. Among these merchant giants rose a figure whose name would become synonymous with discovery. Marco Polo did not just travel. He expanded the boundaries of the human imagination. His Chronicles of the East brought tales of paper money and coal back to these very canals. He proved that the Venetian spirit knew no borders and feared no distance. But Venice was not just a city of commerce. It was a city of soaring transcendental sound. Antonio Vivaldi, the Red Priest, captured the city's frantic energy and seasonal shifts in his strings. His music provided the soundtrack to the city's most decadent and influential era. Even today, the echo of his Four Seasons seems to vibrate within the very stones of the Church of San Giovanni in Bragora. the intricate mosaic-covered facade of St. Mark's Basilica, focusing on the golden leaf that glows in the afternoon sun. The 4 bronze horses standing proud, their metallic surfaces reflecting the bustling piazza below. The movement is steady and worshipful, emphasizing the sheer scale of the Byzantine-inspired architecture. This is the Church of Gold, a monument to divine favor and stolen treasures. Every inch of its surface tells a story of conquest and religious fervor. It was designed to overwhelm the senses, a visual representation of the Republic's immense power. To step inside is to leave the terrestrial world and enter a realm of celestial brilliance. A high contrast of the Doge's palace shows the pink and white marble patterns against a deep blue sky. The giant staircase, focusing on the massive statues of Neptune and Mars. The shadows are long, hinting at the political intrigue that once whispered through these corridors. This was the seat of the Venetian Republic, where the Doge ruled with a council of 10. It is a masterpiece of Venetian Gothic, blending grace with an underlying sense of iron-fisted authority. Behind these delicate arches, the fate of Mediterranean wars was decided in hushed tones. The palace stands as a reminder that beauty in Venice was always a mask for formidable power. The dark, chilling interior of the Bridge of Sighs, looking out through the stone lattice at the last glimpse of the lagoon. The view is blurred, evoking a sense of loss and finality. Not all of Venice was built on golden light. There was a shadow side to the splendor. The Bridge of Sighs earned its name from the convicts who took their last look at freedom before being led to the cells. It is a poignant transition from the Doge's luxury to the cold reality of the Casanova-era dungeons. Here, the romance of the city meets the harsh bite of its history. The Rialto Bridge at night, illuminated by soft yellow lamps that cast long, shimmering reflections on the water. A single gondolier paddles silently underneath the arch, his silhouette sharp against the glowing stone. The atmosphere is quiet, intimate, and deeply historic. The Rialto has survived fires and collapses to remain the beating heart of Venetian commerce. For centuries, it was the only way to cross the Grand Canal on foot, a vital artery for the city. It represents the resilience of the Venetian people, who rebuilt their monuments bigger and better after every disaster. It is the architectural anchor of the city's enduring legacy. On a stack of old leather-bound books in a dusty library, with titles by Shakespeare and Thomas Mann clearly visible, a montage of famous literary quotes appearing as delicate overlays on shots of misty canals. The lighting is moody, with a blue-gray tint that evokes a sense of melancholy. Venice has always been a muse for the tortured soul and the romantic dreamer. Shakespeare used its courts and Rialto to explore justice and prejudice in The Merchant of Venice. Thomas Mann saw the city as a beautiful, decaying backdrop for a final descent into obsession. It is a place where reality and fiction blur, creating a narrative that belongs to all of humanity. Renaissance paintings by Titian and Tintoretto flashes across the screen, highlighting the rich reds and deep shadows. The expressive faces and dramatic brushstrokes, showing the Venetian school of art in detail. The interior of a church where these masterpieces still hang in their original settings. The city itself became a canvas, a place where color and light were explored like never before. Venetian artists broke away from the rigid lines of Florence, choosing instead to paint with the atmosphere of the lagoon. Their work captured the opulence of the Republic and the deep spirituality of its people. These galleries are not just museums. They are the living soul of the Renaissance. A master glassblower in Murano, his face glowing red from the heat of the furnace as he twists molten glass. The glowing orb transforms into a delicate, translucent vase with a single flick of the wrist. The workshop is cluttered with tools and shimmering shards of crystal. On the nearby island of Murano, fire and sand are turned into liquid light. For centuries, the secrets of Venetian glass were guarded under the penalty of death. This delicate art form reflects the city itself. Fragile, beautiful, and born from intense heat and pressure. Every piece of Murano glass carries the DNA of a 1,000-year-old tradition. From the front of a gondola moving through a very narrow canal, with the walls so close you can almost touch them. The water is still, and the only sound is the rhythmic plosh of the oar. The camera tilts up to see laundry hanging between buildings, swaying in a light breeze. This is the quiet Venice, away from the tourists and the grand landmarks. In these hidden veins, life moves at a pace dictated by the tide rather than the clock. Here, the city's secrets are whispered in the shade of crumbling brickwork. It is in these silent corners that you truly feel the weight of the centuries. The Acqua Alta, with tourists walking on raised platforms while the piazza is flooded with several inches of water. The reflections of the buildings in the standing water create a perfect, surreal mirror image. The mood is a mix of concern and strange, festive curiosity. But now we reach the winding stake of our story. The city is sinking. The very water that protected Venice for over a millennium is now its greatest threat. Rising sea levels and the natural subsidence of the land are putting the city's future in jeopardy. The Serenissima is in a desperate race against the rising tides. The Mose barriers rising from the seafloor to block the incoming tide. The massive yellow gates emerge from the waves like the spine of a mechanical sea monster. The surrounding sea is rough, but the lagoon inside the barrier remains calm. This is the modern shield of Venice, a multi-billion-euro gamble to keep the Adriatic at bay. It is a controversial and complex solution to an existential problem. It represents the latest chapter in the city's long history of engineering its own survival. The question remains: can technology truly conquer the power of the ocean? A decaying stone facade, showing how the salt air eats away at the intricate carvings. A restorer's hand carefully brushes away dust from a marble angel, revealing the damage beneath. The lighting is harsh, emphasizing the fragility of the materials. The challenge isn't just the water. It's the salt that calcifies and destroys the foundations from within. Preserving Venice is a Herculean task that requires constant vigilance and immense resources. Every building is a patient in a high-stakes outdoor hospital. We are witnessing a slow-motion battle between human heritage and the relentless forces of nature. A massive cruise ship towering over the delicate skyline of Venice, looking like a modern mountain made of steel. The scale is jarring, highlighting the tension between the ancient city and modern mass tourism. The tiny, crowded streets below, packed with people. Tourism is the lifeblood of the city, but it is also a double-edged sword. Millions flock here every year, bringing wealth but also putting an immense strain on the fragile infrastructure. Finding a balance between being a living city and a theme park is the central conflict of modern Venice. The city must decide who it belongs to: its residents or the world. A local Venetian artisan in a small workshop, hand-painting a traditional leather carnival mask with gold leaf. The shop is filled with hundreds of faces, some smiling, some weeping, some grotesque. The artisan's hands are steady and methodical, showing deep focus. Amidst the modern struggle, tradition remains the anchor of the Venetian identity. The Carnival is not just a party. It is a ritual that dates back to the Republic's heyday. It was a time when social classes blurred behind the anonymity of the mask. Even today, the spirit of the masquerade defines the city's mysterious and playful soul. A person in a full 18th century costume walking across St. Mark's Square at dawn. Their heavy silk robes trail behind them, and their face is hidden by a stark white bottom mask. The square is empty, and a light mist hangs over the ground. The mask hides the worry of the modern age, allowing the city to play its historic role once more. In this moment, the 21st century vanishes, and the Venice of the Doges returns. The city becomes a stage, and every resident is a performer in a play that never ends. This is the magic that draws us in, the ability to step out of time entirely. On a small local Sacchetti bar, where locals are laughing and sharing small plates of food and glasses of Ombra wine. The lighting is warm and golden, contrasting with the cool blue of the canal outside. The clinking of glasses and the animated gestures of a group of old friends. Despite the challenges, the heart of Venice beats in its people and their daily rituals. The Sacchetti culture is a reminder that Venice is a living, breathing community, not just a museum. These small moments of joy and connection are what keep the city's spirit alive. It is a celebration of the present moment in a place obsessed with the past. A series of quick, artistic shots of the different sestieri, or districts. The greenery of Castello, the Jewish ghetto in Cannaregio, and the student life in Dorsoduro. Each district has its own distinct color palette and atmosphere. With a sense of curiosity and exploration. Venice is a city of many faces, each district offering a different perspective on its history. From the solemnity of the world's first ghetto to the quiet gardens of the East, there is always more to discover. It is a labyrinth that rewards those who are willing to get lost. Every bridge crossed is a new chapter in the Venetian story. On a traditional squero, or gondola shipyard, where craftsmen are hand-carving the asymmetrical hull of a new boat. The scent of sawdust and tar is almost palpable through the screen. The precision required to balance the boat for a single oarsman. The gondola is the ultimate symbol of Venice, a vessel perfectly adapted to its unique environment. It is not just a tourist attraction. It is a masterpiece of maritime design. Each boat is built to lean to one side, compensating for the weight of the gondolier. It is a metaphor for the city itself, perfectly balanced in an unstable world. A gondolier's striped shirt and straw hat, looking up at his silhouette as he maneuvers through a difficult turn. His muscles tense as he uses the furcola, the intricate wooden rowlock, to steer. The water churns under his powerful stroke. The gondolier is the gatekeeper of the canals, a profession passed down through generations. They know every ripple and every hidden corner of this waterborne maze. Their songs and their silence are part of the city's atmospheric texture. To ride with them is to see Venice through the eyes of those who have mastered its tides. Pans across the Giudecca Canal as the sun begins to set, casting long purple shadows across the water. Day turns to night. The city undergoes a profound transformation. The crowds thin out, and the true character of the stone and water emerges. The architecture seems to glow from within, fueled by the memories of 1,000 years. This is the hour when the ghosts of Venice come out to play. A modern high-tech control room with screens monitoring the tide levels in real time. The atmosphere is tense, with engineers speaking in low, urgent voices. Digital maps showing the vulnerability of the city's foundations. The city's greatest enemy isn't just the water, but its own fame. The more the world loves Venice, the harder it becomes to save it. The very act of visiting this miracle puts a strain on its delicate heart. We are the admirers who are inadvertently treading on the wings of a butterfly. Young Venetians moving boxes out of an apartment and into a boat, leaving the city for the mainland. Their faces are somber as they look back at their childhood home. The "For Rent" signs in the windows of once grand apartments. The most dangerous flood in Venice isn't water. It's the exodus of its people. As housing costs rise and the city becomes harder to live in, the local population is shrinking. A city without residents is just a hollow shell, a beautiful stage with no actors. The struggle to keep Venice a living city is the most important battle of all. A high-speed, dizzying montage of the Acqua Alta siren sounding, followed by shots of the Mose Gate successfully holding back a storm surge. But hope is not lost. It is just being redesigned. The success of the Mose barriers has given the city a new lease on life, a temporary reprieve from the inevitable. It is a triumph of human will, a statement that we are not ready to let this dream sink. The climax of the Venetian story is happening right now, in our lifetime. A group of international students and scientists working together in a laboratory, analyzing the chemical composition of the lagoon's water. They are looking at microscopic images of the bacteria and minerals that affect the stone. The lighting is bright and clinical, symbolizing a new era of understanding. Venice has become a global laboratory for climate change and heritage preservation. What we learn here will help save cities from New York to Shanghai. The city's struggle is a preview of the challenges the whole world will soon face. Venice is no longer just an Italian gem. It is the front line of our survival. The sun rising over the Grand Canal, with the light hitting the Santa Maria della Salute church. The water is perfectly still, and the city looks pristine and eternal. Despite the decay and the rising tides, the beauty of Venice remains undiminished. It is a beauty that hurts, a perfection that feels too fragile to last. And yet, it has lasted for 15 centuries, defying every prediction of its demise. The city's endurance is its greatest masterpiece. A crowded, joyous scene of a Venetian festival, with people of all ages dancing and eating on the banks of the canal. There are lanterns hanging everywhere, and the atmosphere is electric with life. The faces of children looking up in wonder at the fireworks. Venice is not a tragedy. It is a celebration. It is the proof that humans can build something eternal in the most temporary of places. It teaches us that beauty is worth fighting for, no matter the cost. The city is a living monument to the audacity of the human spirit. A hand trailing in the water from the side of a boat, the ripples spreading out behind it. The water is clear, and the shimmering reflections of the palaces dancing on the surface. To visit Venice is to enter into a contract with history. You agree to slow down, to look closer, and to feel the weight of time. You become a small part of a story that began long before you and will continue long after. It is a place that demands your presence and your respect. The rooftops of Venice at night, with the chimneys and weathercocks silhouetted against a starlit sky. The city looks like a slumbering beast, peaceful and majestic. Far below, the lights of a few windows glow like embers. When the world becomes too loud and too fast, Venice remains a sanctuary of silence and stone. It is a reminder that some things are meant to be slow, intended to be felt rather than just seen. The city is a whisper from the past that tells us to cherish what we have. Its fragile existence makes every moment within its walls more precious. A bridge where a young couple is standing, looking out at the sunset. Their intertwined hands resting on the ancient stone. The light is warm and romantic, the classic Venice of the postcards. But we know now that there is so much more beneath the surface. Behind the romance is a history of war, trade, and architectural genius. Beneath the stone is a forest of wood and a foundation of defiance. To love Venice is to love its scars and its struggles as much as its splendor. From the city, showing it again as a small, golden island in the vast blue lagoon. The scale of the surrounding water makes the city look incredibly small and vulnerable. The horizon is wide and endless. We leave Venice knowing that its story is still being written, tide by tide. It is a city that exists on the edge of the world, a bridge between what was and what will be. Its magic lies in its refusal to be ordinary, its insistence on being a miracle. As long as there is stone and salt, there will be Venice. The most iconic images, the gold of St. Mark's, the glass of Murano, the masks of Carnivale, and the steady oar of the gondolier. A summary of the city's soul. Venice is a reminder of what we can achieve when we refuse to accept the impossible. It is a city that rose from the mud to touch the stars. It is our shared heritage, a floating treasure that belongs to the heart of every traveler. We are the guardians of its future, the witnesses to its eternal grace. From a high aerial view of the city as the lights begin to twinkle in the dusk, the last thing visible is the tip of the Campanile, standing tall against the darkening sky. The mirage remains, the stone still floats, and the story goes on. Venice is waiting for you. A timeless masterpiece in a world of change. Go find your own path through its labyrinth. For in the heart of the lagoon, you won't just find a city. You will find a piece of yourself. Farewell from the Serenissima.